I need you guys to get lit in the chat, right? We're going to fucking take over. If you're watching this thing on Rumble right now, for Fresh and Fit, for some odd reason, it's acting weird. So come on over to Rumble, MyronGainesX. MyronGainesX on Rumble. Go over there. I need more energy from you guys. Let's fucking go. I need a bunch of O/slash in the chat. You know what time it is, guys. We're taking over 20 fucking 25. Let's fucking cook. I'm going to call Bills real quick, chat. You guys can literally hear a little bit of the genius behind the phone call. He's going to help me with, because I think our Rumble, are we live on Rumble? Oh, wait, did I figure this out? Holy shit, I'm fucking good. Let's go. Hold on. Yo, Bills.
Yo, talk to me.
I think I figured it out. I'm live on Fresh and Fit and on MyronGainesX right now.
Oh, you was missing one? I feel like you did it. Yeah, I thought I got both alerts.
Yeah. Holy shit, I did that that AIPAC multi-stream thing you taught me yesterday. It works.
Oh, okay, fire. Yeah, fire. You got that shit. All right.
Yeah, I went back to the custom RTMP and I put the Rumble shit in and it worked.
All right, perfect. Yeah,
damn, okay. What the fuck? All right, we lit, chat. Yeah. Let me just double check and make sure I'm live on Fresh and Fit too.
Look, I'm looking right now.
Oh, we are. Yeah, we cooking. Yeah, buddy, we cooking. I figured this shit out. All right.
All right, brother.
All right, yeah, because people were saying that it wasn't live on Rumble.
Oh,
so
okay,
that's why.
Okay, the double Rumble. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Changing the Rumble Studio.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes if it's not in there, just check in Rumble Studio, and you have to like re-input it.
All right, awesome. All right, I'm on stream right now. Chat, tell a lot of Bills bye. They can hear you.
All right, brother.
All right, man. I'll see you later. I think we're gonna do our thing at like 7:30 or 8.
Yeah. All right, perfect. I'll be there.
All right, bro. Peace. All right. Crisis averted. I thought we were fucked, but we're not, I guess. Sweet. So guys, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Let me go ahead and get because we're gonna be reacting to a video because I want you guys to I want you guys to like kind of understand this case. So you guys then we'll get into the sentencing and how we even got here, right? So first and foremost, some housekeeping things. If you guys want to get involved in the show, the main way to do it, 3 main ways. If you want to get super chat in, you got right there, right here actually, if you look at your screen, super chat at MyronGainesX.com, super chat there, or you could go donate a Rumble rant. If you're watching on Rumble, whether it's Fresh and Fit or MyronGainesX, the accounts are connected, so it's fine. Or you could use Castle Club chat when you're in Castle Clubs, because I'm streaming on 4 different platforms right now. 2 on YouTube, 2 on Rumble, and then obviously Castle Club. So actually 5. So I got like 5 chats in front of me right now, looking at what's going on. And as you guys know, as usual, I'm gonna probably switch over to the MyronGainesX accounts right after that. So bear with me 1 second. I just gotta put a proper chat up here. Oh, man. Hold on. There we go. All right. What the fuck? Oh. My bad, chat. Hold on. My bad, man. What the fuck is this shit? I'm editing something. But you know what? Fuck it. I'll fix this shit after. All right, so quick announcements. Get into Castle Club Premium, guys. Today's the last day. We're closing it down after today. So get in there now for only $65. You get High Value Academy, weekly Zoom calls, and a community Telegram chat, etc. But you got to be in Castle Club to do it, of course, as well. So keep that in mind because we're going to be going back and forth to make sure everyone is also in Castle Club. Also, if you want to get it for the year, it's $500. If you want to get it for the year with Castle Club and Castle Club Premium, it's $900. Okay? So make sure to get in while you guys can. At least get in at the 65 price point because it's going up to 98 after today. All right, guys? So get in now while y'all can. All right? So, okay, with that said, what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to watch this video because I don't think a lot of you guys are familiar with the actual facts of this case. So we're going to go ahead and watch this video. This is from Legal Eagle.
Trump.
Oh, my bad. Let me get my mug out the way. He's kind of a hater of Trump, but
finally,
and then I think he had, let me duplicate this. All right, so why is he guilty? Yeah, well, we know that's bullshit anyway. And then this one, which indictment is this one?
he's the first ex-president charged with a crime. Or as Trump put it, he has been indicated with 34 felony counts of...
All right, we'll watch this one because I think this one actually goes over the case, like the facts of the case. So, and then if we have time, we'll watch the other one too, and then we'll get into what went down today. Because I think for you guys to understand this, you guys have to kind of know the facts of the original case versus what's happened today where he got sentenced. And why and we're going to spin all this back together. And I've actually covered this case on Fed Reacts like twice, guys. If you watch Fed Reacts, you guys already know that we covered all of Trump's criminal cases. Actually, we've covered them on Fed Reacts. But obviously, I'm on Fresh and Fair right now on both Rumble and YouTube, so you guys probably might have not seen it. So just a refresher for the memory, because this shit happened almost damn near a year ago.
Falsifying business records in the first degree. Now, as we'll talk about later,
and I think it's also important for you guys to understand that this was the first case where Trump was actually arrested in a criminal investigation, and the first time that a U.S. president or a former U.S. president has ever been arrested at all. So Trump is the first president to get arrested and indicted by a grand jury, right? And the agency that ran this, it was basically the state of NY that prosecuted him for this. It wasn't the Fed case. This was only one of the 4 different cases he had. It was the New York case, the Georgia case, both state. Then he had a case out of Washington, D.C. That was federal. Then he had a case out of South Florida in West Palm Beach. That was federal as well.
Number of felony counts is not a good proxy for the seriousness of the crimes, especially here where it looks like everything relates to the same nexus of facts. But first things first, this is the first time in history that a former president of the United States has been indicted. Although it's worth remembering that the justice system actually frequently holds elected officials accountable. Vice presidents have been charged with breaking the law, governors, congresspeople, mayors, and all sorts of other politicians have all gone to prison for committing crimes because in America, no one is supposed to be above the law. Of course, if you live outside of Illinois, your odds get way better. Nevertheless, Trump posted that he was shocked that he was treated like some regular Joe. He posted, heading to Lower Manhattan, the courthouse seems so surreal. Wow, they are going to arrest me. Can't believe this is happening in America, MAGA. Though Trump did get a little special treatment because he was allowed to forego the usual perp walk and mugshot, which anyone else would have had to go through. But the timing of the indictment caught most...
And you guys already know, New York loves to do their fucking perp walks. If you guys don't believe me, remember Luigi Mangione? When they arrested him a couple weeks ago? Meeting him at the fucking, taking him off a helicopter and shit. Remember that shit, guys? New York loves to do their fucking perp walks, but in this one they didn't. Obviously it's a security issue, right? Because you're walking, you can't perp walk the fucking former president of the United States. He has a Secret Service detail that he's with.
Most people by surprise. News sources had just reported that the grand jury was going on hiatus until May without indicting Trump, so score 1 for the confidentiality of the grand jury system. But now that Trump has been arrested, arraigned, and released on bond, the indictment and statement of facts are public, so let's think like a lawyer and break it all down. Now, Donald Trump has been indicted for 34 counts of falsifying business records. And during our last video about the New York case, we discussed the possible facts that would give rise to an indictment for falsifying records. Every New York business is required to keep certain business records, and New York Penal Law, section 175.10, makes it a crime to delete, alter, or make a false entry in the business records of an enterprise with the intent to defraud. To get a conviction for falsifying business records, the government must prove that Trump either made or caused someone else to make a false entry to his company's business records. And a defendant who requests that someone else do the actual work of recording a false business record is just as criminally liable as if they did it themselves. Now, according to the Manhattan DA's indictment and the attendant statement of facts, the DA is alleging the following facts. The records concern a catch-and-kill scheme with AMI, the parent company of the National Enquirer. The idea was that the National Enquirer would help Trump win the presidential election by finding negative stories stories about him and then buying the rights to those stories. The plan was for AMI to then conceal those stories rather than publicizing them. According to the New York indictment, the scheme went from August of 2015 to December of 2017. The first one was to pay off a doorman who worked at Trump Tower. The man claimed to have a story about Trump having a secret love child, and AMI paid him $30,000 to keep quiet. The statement of facts says, quote, AMI purchased the information from the doorman without fully investigating his claims, but AMI CEO David Pecker directed that the deal take place because of his agreement with Trump and Michael Cohen. The parties subsequently decided that they thought the doorman was lying. The second incident involved Playboy bunny Karen McDougal, who the statement of facts refers to as woman number one. AMI arranged to pay McDougal $150,000 in exchange for the right to her story about an alleged affair with Trump. AMI told McDougal that she would get to write articles for AMI publications and would be featured in cover stories about her other exploits with famous men. As we discussed in our last video, linked below, AMI CEO David Pecker had a conversation with his lawyer about the scheme and promptly backed out of the deal. AMI entered into a non-prosecution agreement with the New York DA, where it admitted to unlawful conduct, including making false business records to conceal the purpose of the $150,000 payment to McDougal. Now, that being said, the doorman and McDougal payments don't seem to be part of this indictment because they're outside of the 5-year statute of limitations. And although Pecker and AMI stopped participating directly in exchange of money, they continued to broker deals for Trump, including facilitating the settlement of the Stormy Daniels payment. David Pecker allegedly told the grand jury that he brokered an NDA between Daniels and Cohen. Quote, shortly after the Access Hollywood tape became public, the AMI editor-in-chief Dylan Howard contacted Pecker about Stormy Daniels, who alleged she had a sexual encounter with Trump.
Now, Stormy Daniels is going to be the center of this, guys. Keep that name in mind, right? So basically, what do we see here? We see that during Trump's campaign, he was focusing on trying to mitigate any type of bad press that might come his way, that might hurt his chance of becoming president. And, you know, he's talking about the National Enquirer. But the big thing to focus on, guys, is Stormy Daniels. She's a porn star. She met Trump, I believe, in 2006. And the Hollywood tape that they're talking about, that's when he famously said, grab her by the pussy.
While he was married, Pecker told Howard to notify Michael Cohen. Dylan Howard testified that he communicated with Cohen about Daniels and also helped Daniels find lawyer Keith Davidson. And according to the DOJ's filings against Cohen, Howard and Pecker contacted Cohen through an encrypted app to let him know that Daniels was close to a deal with a media outlet to spill the beans about her affair with Trump. And the National Enquirer head honchos then negotiated the $130,000 settlement and also confirmed the NDA with Davidson. And
so Enquirer was trying to keep the story from coming out, allegedly. And Stormy Daniels basically got paid off.
Statement of facts confirms that Cohen and AMI admitted guilt in connection with the payoffs of McDougal and Daniels in the federal matters. Now, 12 days before the general election in 2016, Cohen drew down $130,000 on a home equity loan deposited.
And if I'm not mistaken, Cohen was the key witness against Trump in the trial, guys, because Trump actually ended up taking this to trial, as you guys know.
Into a shell account and then paid Daniels off. After the election, Trump started paying back the initial $130,000 payment to Cohen, but he increased the amount to a total of $420,000. Now, these checks apparently came from the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust, which was created in New York to hold the Trump Organization's assets during his presidency. Later checks came from Trump's personal bank account. In total, 11 checks were issued for phony purpose, legal services. Trump signed 9 of those checks, and according to the indictment, each check was processed by the Trump Organization and illegally disguised as a payment for legal services rendered pursuant to a non-existent retainer agreement. In total, 34 false entries were made in New York business records to conceal the initial covert $130,000 payment. And the indictment concludes that the participants in the scheme took steps that mischaracterized these documents for tax and election-related purposes, to conceal the true nature of the reimbursements, and to hide the reimbursements in total. So why 34 counts, and what records did Trump allegedly falsify? Well, prosecutors charged each false entry as a separate count. For example, there are 4 counts.
Which, you know, I think they were trying to make a thing here, guys. Like, I'll be honest with y'all. This New York hush money case, the state of New York knew that Trump was going to be charged in other jurisdictions, so I think this was a very rushed case to get Trump arrested so that they can have the title of being the first district to arrest the former president. Alvin Bragg campaigned on this, the district attorney for New York, so they had a hard-on for Trump. And if you guys are wondering who Alvin Bragg is, this is him. This guy hates Trump. He campaigned on going after Trump to become district attorney. So they had a hard-on for Trump from the beginning, man, because this is a very frivolous case, to be honest with y'all. No one gets charged for stupid shit like this, but they want to send a message.
Counts related to a single payment that was made to Cohen on Valentine's Day in 2017, each count related to a different document or business record. The first was related to an invoice for that payment. Quote, the defendant made and caused a false entry in the business records of an enterprise, to wit, an invoice from Michael Cohen dated February 14th, 2017, marked as a record of the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust and kept and maintained by the Trump Organization. The second count related to that payment was for the making of a, quote, false entry in the detailed general ledger for the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust, bearing voucher number 842457 and kept and maintained by the Trump Organization. The third count, and I promise we are not going to go through all 34 of these stupid things, was also for a false entry in the general ledger. The fourth count related to that payment that was when Trump, quote, made and caused a false entry in the business records of an enterprise, to wit, the Donald J. Trump Revocable Trust, account check and check stub dated February 14th, 2017, bearing check number 000138 and kept and maintained by the Trump Organization. So, the business records for that one payment are the check and the check stub, and an invoice from Cohen, a voucher for that account, and a voucher for another account. And then the DA basically uses the same pattern for all of the other counts. It's basically one count for every check or invoice. Now, this isn't required, but it's also a totally normal way to charge someone. Now, there has been a ton of breathless reporting about 34 felony counts, but a prosecutor has discretion here. They're not required to list out every single act that was part of a general criminal scheme. But by the same token, it's also a totally normal way of going about writing an indictment, and it's done all the time.
Remain calm! All is well!
So basically, you can't conclude anything from the fact that there's basically 36 different felony counts. Now, an additional wrinkle here is that for a charge of falsifying a business record to be a felony in New York State, it has to come with an additional requirement of intent to defraud. Now, under
Okay, this is important, guys, because this is what makes it the felony, and that's what the state pushed for. This charge is normally always charged as a misdemeanor, but the state of New York tried to get it in to a felony, so they had to prove this part.
Federal law, generally speaking, intending to defraud has a narrow construction. But New York state law interprets intent to defraud much more broadly so that the prosecutor can establish intent
For obvious reasons.
when the defendant acts for the purpose of frustrating the state's power to faithfully carry out its own law. In layman's terms, that means that the government doesn't need to prove that Trump falsified business records for the purpose of depriving someone of money or property. The government only has to show that Trump did something to frustrate the regulatory authorities of New York. And New York courts have found such intent when a defendant did things like making covert contributions to a political campaign, covering up an alleged sexual assault, misleading a patient's relatives about the patient's treatment, and even operating a motor vehicle without a license. But this is certainly a point of controversy, and it's likely a legal issue that will be dealt with by the judge before the factual questions ever reach a jury. But the statement of facts does try to justify the charges. The most significant evidence that Trump knew what Cohen was up to with the intent to defraud was a conversation he had with Cohen about the McDougal payments. Quote, Cohen told Trump he would open up a company for the transfer of Karen McDougal's account and other information, and stated that he had spoken to Chief Financial Officer for the Trump Organization, Allen Weisselberg, about how to set the whole thing up. Trump asked, so what do we got to pay for this, $150? And suggested paying by cash. When Cohen disagreed, Trump then mentioned payment by check. After the conversation, Cohen created a shell company called Resolution Consultants, LLC, on or about September 30th, 2016. But the prosecutor will need to prove that Trump knew about the Daniels payments too, and that he agreed to Cohen's payment scheme. The statement of facts alleges that Trump didn't want to pay Daniels directly, so he asked Cohen to do it. Quote, Trump did not want to make the $130,000 payment himself and asked Cohen and Weisselberg to find a way to make the payment. After discussing various payment options with Weisselberg, Cohen agreed he would make the payment. Before making the payment, Cohen confirmed with Trump that Trump would pay him back. The statement of facts alleges that Cohen made the payment through a shell company with Trump's blessing. Quote, on or about October 26th, shortly after speaking with the defendant on the phone, Cohen opened a bank account in Manhattan in the name of Essential Consultants, LLC, a new shell company he had created to effectuate the payment. He then transferred
And this was something that they used against him too, that he created this shell business to pay Stormy Daniels.
$31,000 from his personal home equity line of credit into that account. On or about October 27th, Cohen wired $130,000 from his Essential Consultants LLC account in New York to Lawyer B to suppress Stormy Daniels' account. Now, the statement of facts also goes into detail about Trump Organization CFO Allen Weisselberg agreeing to pay back Cohen more money than Cohen paid out, so that Cohen could characterize the payment as income on his tax returns instead of a reimbursement, and Cohen would be left with $180,000 after paying approximately 50% in income tax. Finally, Weisselberg added an additional $60,000 as a supplemental year-end bonus. So the statement of facts indicates that Trump knew about his arrangement with Cohen. Quote, Trump, Weisselberg, and Cohen then agreed that Cohen would be paid $420,000 through 12 monthly payments of $35,000 over the course of 2017. Each month, Cohen was to send an invoice to Trump through Trump Organization employees, falsely requesting payment for $35,000 for legal services rendered in a given month of 2017 pursuant to a retainer agreement. At no point did Cohen have a retainer agreement with Trump or the Trump Organization. And the part about no retainer agreement is key, since Trump may argue that he was simply paying Cohen for legal services, which is what he indicated in the business records.
That messed him up too.
The statement of facts also goes into some detail about how each payment was invoiced and made, and I think this detail is important. Once the election was over and Trump had won, he tried to back out of paying Daniels at all. Quote, Trump directed...
Hey, real nigga, baby, let's go. He's like, yeah, F this bitch, man. I'm the president now. Fuck her, bro. You ain't cloud chasing no more.
Cohen to delay making a payment to Stormy Daniels as long as possible. He instructed Cohen that if he could delay the payment until...
Trump did the smash and dash, man. He literally turned into Goku.
After the election, they could avoid paying altogether because at that point it would not matter if the story became public. This could end up being a key allegation because it shows that Trump's motivation was to influence the election, not to protect his family from disclosure. Finally, the statement of facts alleges that Trump tried to pressure Cohen to lie about their arrangement. The pressure campaign included Trump tweeting at Cohen to stay strong and not flip, and the DA also says that a different unnamed Trump lawyer approached Cohen about representing Cohen in his criminal case, offering to help him maintain a, quote, back channel of communication to the defendant. In June of 2018, the lawyer wrote to Cohen urging him not to cave by pleading guilty, but Cohen did in fact plead guilty in August of that same year.
And he even went ahead and was one of the main witnesses of the case against him.
Now, as we talked about, these are only felonies if there's an intent to defraud and also an intent to commit another crime or to conceal a commission of a crime. So what's the second crime in this case? Well, the indictment and statement of facts don't say, and New York law doesn't require that the prosecution identify the second offense at this stage. However, you can bet that there will be some motion practice to force the government to issue a bill of particulars to actually identify what these crimes are. However, in a press conference, Alvin Bragg identified 3 general areas of law that he alleges that Trump intended to break.
The scheme violated New York election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means. The $130,000 wire payment exceeded the federal campaign contribution cap. And the false statements in AMI.
And let's be honest, that's a stretch. That's a stretch.
Books violated New York law. That is why Mr. Trump made false statements.
So Bragg mentions that the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels could have violated the federal campaign contribution caps. Because the hush money payment was intended to benefit the Trump campaign, it could be considered an...
And that's where you can argue, was it really campaign contribution? Was it really? You know, because this shit occurred back in like 2006 when he dealt with this Stormy Daniels chick.
In-kind contribution. The FEC limits...
So you can make the argument that that's not a campaign contribution, that's from his personal life.
Its individual donations to $3,300 per individual
But that's why it's good to have good lawyers. I'm sure his legal team argued that as well.
Per candidate, and in-kind contributions are counted the same as a cash donation. So the $130,000 would be way over that limit. And as we covered before, there's a controversy about whether a federal crime can be used as a predicate for an underlying crime in New York State. And then there's also the state conspiracy allegation. New York elections law, section 17-52, covers conspiracy to promote or prevent an election. Section 17-52 requires proof of a conspiracy among 2 or more people to promote the election of a particular person to public office. Co-conspirators could include Trump, Cohen, Davidson, Howard, and Pecker. The prosecution doesn't need to prove that the defendant committed the second crime, just that the defendant intended to commit it. And there was also a suggestion that the falsified records were for the purpose of tax fraud. So we'll see how this unfolds in the coming months. But it's also important to note that even if the felony enhancement is bounced by the judge or an appellate court, it's still likely that the misdemeanor charges for falsification of business records would remain. And those are still still crimes. There just wouldn't be jail time associated with them. Now, in terms of defenses, Trump is going to have lots of them. Trump's criminal defense will probably be different from his public talking points. For example, Trump and his advocates have argued that prosecuting people for
Now that we know the facts of the case, now we're going to get into the guiltiness, then we'll get into today.
He won a popular vote. 12 citizens of New York unanimously found former President Donald Trump guilty of all 34 felony counts. He reacted about as you would expect.
This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt.
It's really unfortunate.
Well, Trump's actually right there. He's referring to Judge Merchan, which I'll talk about him in a second.
Trump has been a victim of a rigged election, rigged impeachment, rigged federal judicial system, rigged state civil judicial system, and now a rigged state criminal judicial system as well.
Remember, folks, it's a rigged system.
Yeah, cry more, Donnie. Chaos lawyer and reluctant Trump whisperer Liz Dye has the details.
Thanks, Devin. Well, it finally happened. For the first time in our nation's history, an American president was found guilty of a felony in a court of law. Although if you ask the future felon himself, that was inevitable.
Mother Teresa could not beat these charges.
Well, yes, if Mother Teresa had gotten her fixer to pay a porn star to keep quiet in the run-up to an election, then covered up the payment through a series of false invoices and checks, she too would probably have been found guilty of 34 felonies. But if Mother Teresa ever did do any of that, she managed to keep it on the down low. Trump, however, is not a keeping it on the down low.
Well, she didn't want to keep it on the down low. That's the whole reason why they had to pay. She didn't want to keep it on the down low.
Down low kind of guy. At the celebrity golf tournament in 2006, where the encounter allegedly took place, he managed to get his picture taken with Stormy Daniels, the adult film actress who had been sent there to represent her production company, Wicked Pictures. And he reportedly boasted about their brief sexual encounter the next day. But 10 years later, when he decided to run for president, he was decidedly more circumspect. Trump, whose notorious philandering had been a subject of the New York tabloids for decades.
Oh, what, because he womanizes? Bro.
Suddenly had to sell
But nobody says anything about Kamala Harris being a 304.
himself to evangelicals as a faithful family man who just so happened to have 5 children by 3 wives, and to have appeared in a pornographic video, and to have bragged about wandering into the changing room while beauty pageant contestants were getting dressed. And so, he enlisted his longtime friend David Pecker, the owner of the National Enquirer, to burnish his image. Pecker, who was the first witness at the trial, testified that just days after Trump announced his candidacy, he was summoned to a meeting at Trump Tower where Pecker promised to help Trump's campaign by publishing positive stories about Trump, negative stories about his opponents, and alerting him through Michael Cohen when Pecker came across damaging information, particularly regarding women. Pecker brought up 2 stories, including one from Playboy model Karen McDougal, who was paid $150,000 for her account of a relationship with Trump a decade earlier. Pecker testified that he'd buried stories for other celebrities before and even for politicians. But his lawyers convinced him that selling McDougal's story to Trump might look like a campaign finance violation, so he refused to go through with it. Then, Stormy Daniels came forward, and Pecker testified that he refused to pay her out of fear that the association with an adult film star would upset Walmart, the National Enquirer's biggest distributor. And even after Cohen threatened that the boss would be furious if he didn't do the deal, Pecker wouldn't budge. So Cohen negotiated to pay Daniels $130,000 to sign a non-disclosure agreement, aka an NDA. Except that Trump kept putting the deal off in hopes that he could delay until after the election and avoid paying her altogether. Then on October 7th, 2016, the Access Hollywood tape dropped, with Trump bragging about grabbing women by the genitals because...
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Trump's aide hooked...
Yo, W. Trump. W. Trump, this lady's fucking pissed. This Karen is angry.
testified that the tape went off like a bomb inside the campaign, knocking a Category 4 hurricane out of the news cycle, at which point Trump told Cohen to make that deal with Daniels happen, and he didn't care how, because Stormy Daniels telling her story in the press would be the end of his presidential campaign. So Cohen borrowed $130,000 against his house and put together an NDA for David Dennison and Peggy Peterson to sign, where they all agreed never to speak about the matter again. And on November 1, the agreement was signed and Trump went on to win the White House. During their opening statement, prosecutors revealed that on election night 2016, Daniels' lawyer Keith Davidson messaged Dylan Howard, then the editor-in-chief of the National Enquirer, asking, "What have we done?" Howard replied, "Oh my God." Howard texted a family member speculating that maybe Trump would pardon him for electoral fraud, which strongly suggests that everyone involved in the Daniels payoff thought that their schemes had put Trump in the White House, and they strongly suspected that what they had done was against the law. Michael Cohen, who had hoped for a job in the administration, perhaps even as White House chief of staff, soon found out that he was going to be fobbed off with the title personal attorney to the president and very little else. And while that honorific allowed him to pitch himself as a sort of lobbyist, it didn't come with a paycheck. In fact, the Trump Organization actually cut his Christmas bonus that year and kicked him off the payroll in January of 2017.
And that's why he got so mad, because obviously he got brought into this thing, and that's why I think he ended up turning into the state witness.
By December, Cohen was furious that he hadn't been repaid the $130,000, and he even prevailed upon Pecker to intervene with Trump on his behalf, which Pecker did, and according to his testimony, Trump said, "Don't worry about it, I'll take care of it." And the way that he took care of it was through a series of monthly checks for $35,000, supposedly paying Cohen for legal expenses.
I don't know, this all seems really complicated. Legal fees, reimbursements, taxes. If only there was someone who were really good at explainers.
So at the trial, Trump Org Comptroller Jeffrey McConney was shown Exhibit 35, a bank ledger documenting that Michael Cohen had wired $130,000 through an LLC to Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Keith Davidson. So that was the
All right, this thing could go on too fast. Let me...
payment to Daniels, $130,000. On the ledger, though, there were also handwritten notes, presumably by Cohen, adding $50,000 to the tally for money paid to a company called Red Finch to rig an online poll that CNBC was running on the most famous businessmen because Trump was frustrated that he was in 9th place. So that brought Cohen's out-of-pocket expenses to $180,000. Now, on the left side, there were notes by Trump Org CFO Alan Weisselberg documenting that they would have to
Weisselberg.
gross up the payment to $360,000 to account for the fact that Cohen would owe taxes because he was calling it income to keep the reimbursement secret. If it were publicly a reimbursement, the money would come into Cohen and then out, and he could call it an expense and wouldn't be taxed on it. But because they were going to be keeping it a secret, he would have to declare that as income. And then on top of that, they added a $60,000 bonus, presumably just because, like, at this point, Cohen knew a lot, so they should keep him happy. So now that's a total of $420,000. And if the payments were going to be paid out in $35,000 increments, that'd be like 12. That'd be 12 equal payments, and that's what there were. This isn't complicated math.
Exhibit 36 was McConney's own notes from the meeting, confirming that the $180,000 would be doubled for taxes and wired monthly from DJT in increments of $35,000.
And that's how you end up with the 34 counts, chat.
He even included a helpful note that Cohen would be removed from the Trump Organization's payroll in January of 2017, after which Mike was to invoice us that $35,000 a month, which he did. And to top it all off, these notes were on Trump Organization stationery because none of these geniuses had ever heard of the Stringer Bell rule.
Is you taking notes on a criminal fucking conspiracy? What the fuck is you thinking?
At the trial, Trump's lawyer Todd Blanche argued that Cohen had actually been doing legal work in 2017 to earn those monthly payments. In his closing argument, he made the bizarre claim that Cohen secretly paid off Daniels as part of a plot to take advantage of Donald Trump. Quote, he made a decision to pay that $130,000 to Ms. Daniels. He didn't tell President Trump about it. He wanted to do it because he knew that he could get credit for doing something to supposedly help President Trump at some later time. Whether they won the election or lost the election, he would be able to get that credit. And that might have been persuasive if the prosecutors were simply asking the jury to take Michael Cohen's word for it. After all, Cohen was convicted of tax fraud and lying to Congress. He's hardly a credible character, but it wasn't just Cohen calling it a reimbursement.
Yeah, because he's lying under, he's been arrested for perjury, guys, and lying under oath. Once you get hit with those charges, you don't become a credible witness.
For the hush money payment.
You lose a lot of credibility. And if you ever get convicted of perjury as a cop, you're done. You can't work in law enforcement if you've ever been convicted of perjury or making false statements.
Pecker testified that he had also leaned on Trump to pay Cohen back. And McConney confirmed that he took Cohen off the payroll and routed those invoices through bookkeeping rather than through the legal department. Exhibits 35 and 36 showed that the Trump Organization's bean counters were doubling the debt to cover Cohen's tax liability, and Hope Hicks practically laughed on the witness stand when prosecutors asked if she thought Cohen was the kind of guy to secretly make a $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels out of the kindness of his heart. She said, I didn't know Michael to be an especially charitable person or selfless person. He's the kind of person who seeks credit. There's also the fact that Trump tweeted repeatedly that he'd reimbursed Cohen for the Daniels payout. And not for nothing, but Rudy Giuliani, Trump's own lawyer, admitted it on air.
And that's crazy they put that on Twitter. Mr. Cohen, an attorney, received a monthly retainer not from the campaign and having nothing to do with the campaign, from which he entered into, through reimbursement, a private contract between two parties known as the NDA. These agreements are, and then it keeps going.
Payout. And not for nothing, but Rudy
Twitter can always come back to haunt you, huh?
Giuliani, Trump's own lawyer, admitted it on air back in 2018.
So they funneled it through the law firm. Funneled through the law firm, and the president repaid it.
Trump's current lawyer, Todd Blanche, countered by calling Michael Cohen a liar over and over and over again at high decibel. He said, it's like what people talk about with athletes like Michael Jordan is the GOAT, Tiger Woods is the GOAT, Tom Brady is the GOAT. These athletes are the greatest of all time, the best among their peers. Michael Cohen is the gloat. He's literally the greatest liar of all time.
Stop it. Get some help.
Assistant District Attorney Joshua Steinglass, who delivered the 6-hour closing argument, said, keep something else in mind when the defense goes on and on about how Michael Cohen is immoral, or he's a liar, or he's a thief. Mr. Blanche actually said, this is not the type of witness you want. We didn't choose Michael Cohen to be our witness. We didn't pick him up at the witness store. The defendant chose Michael Cohen to be his fixer because he was willing to lie and cheat on Mr. Trump's behalf, which is a slightly better joke. Plus, Steinglass had all those exhibits and witnesses to back up what Michael Cohen said.
Well, the jerk store called. They're running out of you.
In the end, it took the jury of 7 men and 5 women less than a day and a half to reach a guilty verdict.
Now, throughout this trial, Trump was represented by Todd.
And that's what a lot of the people that hate Trump are saying, hey, he got convicted of a jury of his own peers. But again, this case should have never been brought in the first place, guys. I mean, this is a lot of work and a lot of effort to go after a dude for paying a thought off. Like, let's be honest here. Come on. Come on, state of New York. But again, like I said before, this was a clout grab by Alvin Bragg where he wanted to be able to say, I am the first district attorney to charge a former president of the United States with a crime and have him be indicted. That's what the state of New York wanted, right? And then all these other charges that came after, they wanted their piece of their pound of flesh too.
Blanche. But if you
guys got to remember, bro, as a prosecutor, when you prosecute high-level individuals, you're considered like a fucking rock star in the legal world, right? This is going to open opportunities for him later in the private sector. Like, it's a huge come up for your career. And I think that's something that's kind of overlooked when people talk about these cases about, oh, why didn't New York bring the case, whatever. It's for their reputational embetterment, guys. It's very simple, you know? Now Alvin Bragg can literally put on his fucking application if he decides to go private sector, because I'll tell you guys this, being an AD doesn't make you that much money. I mean, hell, let's Google it real fast, right? Let's see here. Does it have it here? Okay, so he's only earning somewhere between $100,000 to $250,000 a year, right? Boom, report for Alvin Bragg, and this is public since 2023. He makes somewhere in this range, it looks like, and he's a district attorney, right? Who's the top law enforcement official in the city of New York, right? For the state level. And this actually got the mayor in trouble. This thing, he didn't properly disclose some of the money he got from Turkey, right, for benefits and trips and shit like that. This is what got him in trouble. So it looks like somewhere between $100,000 to $250,000, which, guys, to be honest with you, that's not that much money in New York, right? So for him, this is a huge come up because now he can secure any legal job he wants, right? And this happens very often, guys, where people will take a lower paying job in the government so that they could build up their resume and then switch to the private sector and make fucking a bunch of money.
Record keeping. Want a good lawyer? My law firm, the number on
10 is a felony charge that derives from Section 174 counts of false was charged as a separate count.
So here's the charges.
Which is how Trump got indicted for 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree under New York Penal Law Section 175.10. But 175.10 is a felony charge that derives from first-degree falsifying business records, which is a misdemeanor. So under 175.05, it's a misdemeanor to make or cause a false entry in the business records of an enterprise. And under 175.10, it's a felony to make a false business record with the intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission thereof. In plain English, if you create the false business record as part of a criminal scheme, then it becomes a felony. And look, no one in that room believed that Michael Cohen was being paid $35,000 a month for work performed in 2017. The misdemeanor false business records were pretty much a given. So for the purposes of this case, the main thing that prosecutors had to do was come up with another crime that would plus up that misdemeanor false business record to a felony. And in fact, they came up with 3. First, and most obvious, is tax fraud. because everyone understood that the object of this game was to have Cohen file a false tax return claiming that he'd earned $420,000 for work performed when he was actually being reimbursed for what was functionally a loan to the campaign. The second crime was a violation of the Federal Election Campaign Act, or FECA, because in 2016, when Cohen paid $130,000 to Daniels, the maximum an individual could donate to a campaign was about $2,700. And while Cohen didn't write the check to the Trump campaign, he did write it for the benefit of the Trump campaign. And that still counts. So if Cohen had, say, hosted a party for the campaign and paid $10,000 to the caterer, it would still be an excessive campaign contribution, and this is no different. Trump's lawyers tried to argue that Trump wanted to silence Daniels to protect his family from embarrassment, not for political ends. But that was pretty fatally undercut by Pecker's testimony that Trump invited him to a meeting at Trump Tower just days after announcing his candidacy. At the meeting, they cooked up a plan for the National Enquirer to bottle up stories that damaged Trump while attacking his rivals. The whole purpose of this plan was to protect the campaign. Trump never cared about buying Stormy Daniels' silence between 2006 and 2016, and if he'd never run for president, it would have stayed that way forever. And so the prosecutors argued that
Well, she wanted a clout chase, man. That's why.
money, Cohen...
Because when that Hollywood Access video came out, every chick came out wanting their pound of flesh. You know, Caroll, all these women making fake accusations against him.
...had paid to Daniels was an undeclared and excessive campaign contribution. The third predicate was a violation of New York election law, section 17152, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote or prevent the election of any person to public office by unlawful means. And here's where things get a little wonky, because the prosecutors suggested that the unlawful means were the tax fraud and the campaign finance violation. So in some sense, this thing kind of loops back on itself. Once they defined the crimes, the prosecution had to prove that Trump had the intent to commit them. The judge instructed the jury that a person is guilty of falsifying business records in the first degree when, with intent to defraud that includes an intent to commit another crime or to aid or conceal the commission thereof, that person makes or causes a false entry in the business records of an enterprise. So under New York law, the prosecution had to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Trump both committed the business records offense and that he intended to commit one of the three other offenses. The prosecution didn't need to show that he committed the other three offenses, though. And it gets even wonkier because the jurors didn't have to agree on which of the three other crimes plussed it up from a misdemeanor under 175.05 to a felony under 175.10. The jury instruction said, in determining whether the defendant conspired to promote or prevent the election of any person to a public office by unlawful means, you may consider the following. 1. Violations of the Federal Election Campaign Act, otherwise known as FECA. 2. The falsification of other business records, or 3, violation of tax laws. So, 4 of the 12 jurors could believe that the other crime was tax fraud, 4 could buy the FECA violation, and 4 could be convinced by the nesting doll of the New York State election crime. And that would be fine. In fact, no one will ever know which predicate they accepted, or even if this was an issue at all for the panel, since there was no place on the charge sheet for the jurors to specify which other crime they were basing their verdict on. And it may seem odd, but that's just how New York law works, which Trump's lawyers explicitly acknowledged during the charging conference when they negotiated those jury instructions. Trump wanted the judge to say, you, the jury, must reach unanimous decision regarding whether the people have established unlawful means, and if so, which unlawful means was or were at issue. And Justice Merchan said, do you agree that unanimity is not ordinarily required? To which Trump's lawyer Emile Beauvais replied, certainly, but we think it's important under the circumstances of this case and think it's in your Honor's discretion to make clear the record here. In other words, he said, I admit that I'm asking you to make an exception for my client and the decision to do so is within your discretion. But the judge said, what you're asking me to do is change the law, and I'm not going to do that. And that was that. This will not be an issue that gets the case overturned on appeal, but it will be an issue that sucks up a lot of airtime. In fact...
Yeah, absolutely it will. Real quick, let me read some of these chats, guys. We got Xander says, well, W. Myron, would you ever do the 20 verse 1 again? I watched the one you did last year, and boy, it wasn't hilarious. It seemed pretty popular, too. You had almost 25,000 people watching live. I don't know if you can see the pictures, but picture 1, your reaction to a joke made. Picture number 2, chatting with a girl about a guy. Yeah, we could do the 20 verse 1 again. I think we did, if I'm not mistaken, guys, we did that as instead of after hours, right? Xander, can you remind me? We did that instead of after hours, if I'm not mistaken. Algie309, subscribe. Shout out to you, bro. Also, yo, Xander, tell me what day that was. When was that 20 verse 1? What day did we do that? All right. So we got here. So shout out to you, dude, for joining Castle Club ALG. Shout out to you. I'm gonna give you a Don DeMarco, actually. Don DeMarco. Ishmi says, you seen Ian ratio the fuck out of Elon yesterday? Yep, I definitely did. We talked about it yesterday. O/slash in the chat. Shout out to you, Haz. We got Zuhar. Hey, yo, Myron, maybe a tip for 2025. Start a new podcast with Sneeko with other content. Sneeko's doing his own thing right now, guys. He's more on the pre-recorded, artistic vibe right now. Yo, Myron, okay, you're out big bro, thank you. Or our big bro. I appreciate that, easy. As he again says, what's up, Myron? I sent you a DM on IG. Saw you don't read them because you get so much. Understandable. So I signed up for a year on CC. Just want to say thanks. That GoFundMe was not a scam, bro. Oh, no worries, bro. People are going to fucking say things. Xander says, I knew Trump would get these cases dismissed. Middle finger to all the never Trumpers. Too bad Trump will still not be considered a felon. Will still be considered a felon. How do you respond to people who will say Trump is a racist and P? Bro, we just ignore him, dude. They've been saying that shit since 2015, dude. Andy Balls, love you, man. Appreciate that, bro. Sandy Balls. And then we got Mary One says, $1. Can you still screw him after the president term is over? Yeah. Yeah, chat. I'll be honest with you. I would not be surprised if they didn't go after him after his presidency. So, yeah. Outboy says, Tate had an interview with Trump's lawyer. It's on X. G shit. Okay. And then we could react to that. Can you send me the link, Outboys? Can you send me the link for that, actually? We'll react to that, too. Crazy in NYC, we can't get shooters and robbers to get convicted yet. They did all this for Trump. Complete clout political submission. You know who targeted from a judicial abuse. There are actual shooters still walking the streets of New York. Thank you, Kim Pop. Thank you. The reason why this case is so fucking ridiculous, guys, is because there is way worse shit going on in New York. Like gang violence, people getting killed, like all kinds of crazy shit. But they spent millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to go after Trump on this bullshit falsifying business charge.
It already is. Donald Trump got the ball rolling earlier in the week with a post on Truth Social claiming that the reason the radical, highly conflicted judge Juan Merchan had to come up with 3 fake options for the jury to choose from without requiring them to be unanimous, which is completely un-American and unconstitutional, is because the corrupt Soros-backed DA, Alvin Bragg, couldn't come close to proving that any crime was committed. Soon, all of Trump's MAGA allies were singing from the same hymnal. Senator Marco Rubio tweeted that judge in Trump case in NYC just told jury that they don't have to unanimously agree on which crime was committed as long as they all at least pick one, and that among the crimes...
And speaking of the judge, so Laura Loomer has been on this judge's neck for a while. Where did I put it? Oh, damn, I lost it. Okay.
They can pick from are ones Trump wasn't even charged with. This is exactly the kind of sham trial used against political opponents of the regime.
Hold on. I have it here? No.
Regime in the old Soviet Union. Simmer down, little Marco. Fox News' John Roberts tweeted that Judge Merchan just told the jury that they do not need unanimity to convict. 4 could agree on one crime, 4 on a different one, and the other 4 on another. He said he would treat 444 as a unanimous verdict. Here's Trump's favorite legal commentator, Jonathan Turley, a professor at George Washington University Law School, explaining on Fox that no one knows what the crime is.
When they were reading those guilty verdicts, the one thing that we didn't know is really what he was found guilty of. Because if you remember that...
All right, so real quick. So Judge Merchan, right, his daughter, guys, and Laura's been exposing this shit for a minute now, but Judge Merchan's daughter, business partner Mike Nellis, refused to comply with his subpoena yesterday after hiring Democrat lawyer Marcy Ellis, who was also brought to represent Kamala Harris's campaign and now also GA Secretary of State. So in other words, Judge Merchan's daughter had worked for Kamala Harris's campaign, guys, right? So obviously, that comes off really bad optically. You got a judge that's supposed to sentence Donald Trump and his daughter worked for his adversary's campaign. This is literally like the definition of conflict of interest, right? So Judge Merchan's daughter company and Kamala Harris have the same lawyer representing them so they can communicate with each other under the excuse of attorney-client privilege. Weeks before President Trump was set to be sentenced in New York City, Kamala Harris sent funds to the personal home residence of Mike Nellis, as I've been exposing all year now. Millions of dollars in payments from pro-indictment Democrats who have raised fundraised off of Trump going to jail has been sent to the personal home residence of Judge Merchan's daughter. Holy, guys. Big. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! See, do you guys see why now I talk about this, and I always use Laura Loomer as one of the main people that broke this story? Like, the mainstream media will not report this, guys. This is fucking insane. In-fucking-sane. So, instead of being dragged to prison, which is what Steve Bannon was jailed for, Mike Nellis is now posting attacks on me. Weird flex. These attacks have been coordinated and sanctioned by the media and cowardly Republicans who don't want to see the attack for what it is. A cover for Judge Merchan and his daughter's company. If there's nothing to hide, why not comply with the subpoena? Where's the House GOP? Are they going to be a bunch of cowards and allow Mike Nelson to refuse to comply with the subpoena? Seems like none of the House GOP is focused on actually exposing this witch hunt against Trump and holding Merchan accountable. Everyone can see through this sham attack on me that was coordinated the day Judge Merchan's gag order was upheld and same day Nelson refused to comply. So, guys, Laura Loomer has been exposing Judge Merchan and his daughter all fucking summer. Like, all summer, she had her fucking neck, she had her foot on their necks, bro. So, I got to give her credit. Because if it had not been for Laura Loomer, this is just one of a bunch of tweets, by the way. This tweet that you guys are seeing here, she wrote like 20 of these. She literally had like, I'm exaggerating, but she literally had like somewhere between 5 to 10 tweets just like this, exposing things between Merchan, his daughter, other conspirators, etc. And this made Merchan look really fucking bad. So, and then here, what ended up happening is Trump used some of that stuff to make his argument that the judge was not impartial.
The motion. And they've put together a composite of issues that would cause me a little bit of pause. And I can explain all the various things that they've put together. The main focus of this motion, as opposed to the previous one a year ago, which the judge denied, is on the daughter's line of work. As you already said, the daughter does work with many, many high-profile Democratic candidates. She works on their social media. They put out a post. They get contributions. She, as an owner, gets a percentage of those contributions. So there is a statute in New York which says a judge must disqualify himself if a person known by the judge to be within the 6th degree of relationship, and a daughter is the 1st degree, has an interest that could.
And he didn't. And here's the thing. Some people try to say, because I was having a debate earlier with a lawyer on this, a liberal lawyer on X. She was saying, look, he went to the ethics board and he asked if he needed to recuse himself. And they said no. But it doesn't matter. Like, bro, if there's any, potential optical issue that looks like you're compromised, most judges would just be intelligent and just recuse themselves. They wouldn't ask no fucking ethics board. But Judge Merchan wanted the clout to be the first judge to be able to sentence a former president. That's the fucking truth. This whole New York case, guys, let me boil this fucking thing down, right? This entire New York case for Trump was nothing more than a play to elevate the careers of everyone that was involved in the fucking charging. Again, one more time. This New York case was nothing more than a come-up for all the lawyers, law enforcement personnel, people that were involved in the investigation, people that are involved in collecting the records, building this case. Everyone that worked on this case, this was a big come-up for them. Because for them to go after him for falsifying business records, which is typically a fucking misdemeanor, and to go as hard as they did for this minuscule fucking charge, right, proves to you guys that they're okay with wasting taxpayer dollars to go after somebody from an optics standpoint. Because think about it. They spent all this money. Trump's not going to jail. They spent millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to prosecute him. Where'd that money go? What, just so you could call him a fucking convicted felon? No, they did it for their own career benefit. Because now, if any of them go to private sector, yeah, I was on that Trump hush money case. I was one of the prosecutors on it. I led that investigation. I argued in court for that investigation. Show me the motive and I'll show you why. That's why, guys, they went after him. This was a huge come up for everybody in the state of New York. Because now they got bragging rights to be able to say that we sentenced him, we arrested him, and we were the first ones to do it. That's all they cared about. They never actually cared about getting justice or putting him in jail. It was to send a message that, hey, look, we don't like you, Trump, and we're going to get a come up off you.
By the outcome of the proceeding. So the question here is this daughter likely to profit, to benefit from the outcome of this proceeding. And you have to understand, it's not actual conduct that's worrisome, it's the appearance to a reasonable person that this judge cannot be fair and impartial given that relationship. So ordinarily, I would think that.
And that's what I argued to the lawyer before, because she was trying to tell me like, oh no, Judge Merchan isn't corrupt or any of this other bullshit. And I was like, bro, a reasonable person looking at this is gonna think that this has bad optics. I mean, everyone here in the chat, you guys have common sense. Like, this looks bad no matter how you splice it.
That a benefit financially would be to a spouse because they share the income. This is an independent adult daughter. They don't share income. But according to this statute, the judge must recuse if she would substantially benefit from the outcome. So that's one thing that concerned me. But if you add to that.
You know what's funny, bro? Xander, you said it was March 25th last year. We lost our Instagrams right around that time, bro. That's right around the time we lost our Instagrams. And then like, oh my God, bro. It was so fucking, that makes sense. Had 27,000 watching back then because we had our Instagrams, dude. Fucking lame.
A few other facts that are
but don't worry,
concern,
we're building back up in 2025, guys. Us losing our Instagrams hurt us a lot. You know, it was annoying. Very, because we used to bring a lot of people in from Instagram with the stories and shit like that.
Was the judge's original contribution to President Biden 4 years ago, which he made himself. Very small contribution, $35.
Yeah, I think it was $10, right?
$35, I'm told, $35. A small contribution, but he made.
All right, so now you guys get it, right? We know the facts of the case. Now let's get into today. Now we're going to fast forward. So guys, this is what we're going to do. I gave you guys the backstory. We talked about the case, the charges, how we got here, what the who prosecuted this case. We went into how he got convicted, etc. We went over details. So what we're going to do now, guys, I'm going to go ahead and switch to MyronGainesX on Rumble and on YouTube, okay? So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to go ahead and drop the YouTube link for you guys in Fresh and Fit. And I'm going to drop the Rumble chat for you guys, or the Rumble link on Fresh and Fit as well. So time to switch on over, depending on what platform you prefer, Rumble or YouTube, right? I'd prefer if you guys all came to Rumble, but if you want to be on YouTube, that's fine too. So time to switch on over, my ninjas. I'm going to be ending the Fresh and Fit versions. Bear with me, guys. Join up, ninjas. So come on over, guys. Come on over. I pinned it. If you're watching on Fresh and Fit at either Rumble or on YouTube, I pinned the link to watch the video on my MyronGainesX channel, guys. Again, I'm doing this for maybe one more week or a couple of days, but we are not going to be streaming any of this stuff on Fresh Fit anymore. I'm going to be, once you guys get used to me going live every day at 5 o'clock and we build a habit, we're not going to be going live on Fresh Fit anymore. It's going to be MyronGainesX only. I'll make announcements. Make sure to ring the bell. I'll be making announcements on Twitter. So come on over right now, guys. I'm going to end these streams. So first, I'm going to go ahead and end the Fresh and Fit on YouTube. So come on over, guys. And then we're going to start getting cooking here. All right. Come on over. Link is pinned in Fresh and Fit chat, guys. Come on over. So we're ending Fresh and Fit here. Bam. Done. Okay. Now we're going to end the Fresh and Fit on Rumble. And again, I'm doing this so you guys can kind of get in the habit of knowing where to find me 5 p.m. every Monday through Friday, every day. I'm committing to it. Even if right now, guys, I feel like shit, I'm not going to lie to y'all. But I am committing to this shit 5 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday for at least a fucking few weeks. At least. So, we're going to be cooking, chat. All right, let me just make sure. Okay. Double, triple check. All right. I am ending the Rumble stream now. Is it still going? What the fuck? Why is it still going? Okay. I think the Rumble stream is done. So, let's start getting you guys over. All right, there we go. All right, chat. Now we are cooking. All right, now we are cooking. Let me make sure the Rumble is good to go still. All right, I think the Rumble is good to go still. All right, Rumble is good. Get rid of the YouTube. Sorry, guys. I have so many tabs open here where I'm like just navigating this thing and making sure I got everything right. I didn't turn off the wrong stream, any of that shit. Okay. It looks like we are good, I think. All right, let's go ahead and bring this here. Now, this is Fox News moving forward to today. And I got your link for Andrew Tate as well, bro. We'll react to this as well. We'll add this as well. Okay, let's get the likes up, ninjas. If you're watching on Rumble and YouTube, follow the channel, subscribe.
This is heard that apparently Trump is finished speaking and that Merchan, the Judge Merchan, is starting the sentencing right now.
And in wrapping up, Trump said that this is a great embarrassment to the state of New York. And then Jonathan pointed out this idea that Michael Colangelo left his position as a deputy or assistant attorney general at the Department of Justice to take on the mantle of a humble state prosecutor for this case. I mean, that was something that a lot of people said, well, that draws a direct connection between what's going on in New York City and what's going on at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. What do you think?
Well, it is interesting that in these final remarks, Trump is opening up about many of these issues. He's raised some of these themes before, but he was also under a gag order, something that many of us felt was excessive. You had this acting New York justice in Manhattan effectively controlling the leading candidate for the presidency on a subject that was important to many voters. Many voters saw what Merchan...
Good point. That is a good point. And that's why he actually violated the gag order like 10 different times. And Donald Trump, he said, fuck this shit, man.
Sean did in his courtroom as raw lawfare and saw these types of cross-pollination that you just raised, John, as evidence of that. And I think that, in my view, that's the verdict that is going to be unassailable here. I don't think this case is likely to be upheld. I hope it will not be. But I think that the verdict on the New York court system is going to really stand the test of time. This was where the New York court system failed in a spectacular fashion, allowed people like Bragg, Attorney General James, and others to weaponize their system. It's going to take years for New York to regain a sense of legitimacy in the eyes of many citizens, including many business people who look at this and say, but for the grace of God go I. But the one thing that I think that Trump can take some solace in is that he can now appeal this case in whole. And as Andy was talking about, there are some just glaring, in my views, reversible errors. I agree with Andy that the one that takes my breath away, even beyond the fact that I think this is a made-up criminal case with a made-up crime, is that the judge did not require the jury to unanimously agree on what happened. That is, in order to zap that dead misdemeanor into life, they needed this secondary crime. What was Trump trying to hide?
And we know that, guys. We went over that with the Legal Eagle guys with the whole intent thing.
What was he trying to achieve? Merchan just said, come up with anything. It doesn't matter. You just choose on this menu, and you don't even have to tell us what you actually think happened in this case. That should be outrageous to everyone, including critics. And, you know, I have to give credit to, you know, over at CNN, their senior analyst said this was unprecedented, absurd. The New York senator from New Jersey recently used stronger language to condemn this case. Those are voices from the left left that I want to give credit to. But where the silence, the deafening silence, is coming from the New York legal system itself. And that's where I think many of us are rather shocked that we ever got to this point to see this sentence come down in a case that should never have been brought.
Andy, Todd Blanche is the defense attorney with Trump today. He's going to be starting at the Justice Department on January 20th.
Right.
That is not a Senate confirmed position, right?
No, it is.
No, it is. So he'll have to be Senate confirmed. So he's probably not going to talk too much outside of this until then. But can you project a little bit ahead? I mean, if they're saying what they're saying about the New York system and also about the overall court proceedings in America and people not having any confidence, what can or should or do you anticipate Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi might do there?
Well, I think the first flashpoint, Dana, and Trey and I talked about this before we came in, is probably the Mangione case, the terrible homicide case that we had in New York. Very interesting, not to get too much into the weeds about this, but in most of the country, there's no problem if the state prosecutes someone having a separate federal prosecution because of what we call dual sovereignty. But in New York, it doesn't work that way. In New York, they have what they call equitable double jeopardy in the state constitution. And as a practical matter, what that always meant when I was a federal prosecutor here, we could always win the turf.
Oh, that's good. So this guy used to be an AUSA. That's good. The guy's credible then.
Battles. Because if we go first, the state can't go at all. They're basically jeopardied out, as we used to say. So I thought it was interesting that the Biden Justice Department evidently made a deal with Bragg that New York could go first on Mangione, and then the feds would go. I would be very surprised if the Trump Justice Department feels like they have to honor that deal.
All right. Anything from you on that, Trey?
I hate to use the word collusion, but Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, if they're all confirmed, will find out whether or not there was collusion between Merrick Garland and Alvin Bragg to bring this case in state court. They'll have.
And Merrick Garland, for those of you guys that are wondering, is the Attorney General. This is him. Basically, he runs the Department of Justice. And if you look at the early life, every single time, Chad. But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, he is the current Attorney General for the Department of Justice, which means he's the top law enforcement officer in the United States, in the land, at the federal level. He oversees the FBI, DEA, all the DOJ.
All the paperwork, all the paper trail. So if there was collusion, we'll know about it in about.
Versus Alvin Bragg is the Attorney General for the state of New York and New York City. So Bragg is the top guy for federal. Garland is the top guy on the Fed side. Bragg is the top guy on the New York State side. Because remember, in America, we have prosecution from two different angles. It could go state or federal.
3 months.
All right, so more notes from inside the court from our Kerry Urban. Judge Mershon, in his preamble to announcing the sentence, says the Trump trial was no different than all of the other criminal trials in the building. Mershon attempting to create equivalency between Trump and ordinary criminals while acknowledging the fact that he won the presidency and how it is, in fact, different. Andy, you want to tackle that one, that the Trump case is no different than any other case that comes into his courtroom?
Well, I think the Trump case is different because the defendant is in the courtroom. In Alvin Bragg's New York, that doesn't often happen. We have criminals who commit very serious crimes here who never actually get charged and never find their way into the courtroom. When they get into one of Alvin Bragg's courtrooms, if they start out with a felony, if it gets down to a misdemeanor, that's actually lucky for the public. Very often, there's not even misdemeanor dispositions. I just think it's like living in an alternative universe, listening to these guys. If you actually spend time in New York, if you grew up in New York like I did, and you saw the plummeting of crime from the 90s for the 25 years after that, which was accomplished by actual prosecution of cases, and then you have a district attorney who comes in with what he called a day one memo, which basically said there's a new regime in town and what we're going to try as prosecutors is non-prosecution. And that's pretty much what criminals get in New York, unless they're Donald Trump, of course. Their name is Donald Trump.
Exactly. We're on the same page. I didn't watch this video beforehand, guys.
Wanted to ask you about something, Trey, which is the
They only care to make an arrest if it's going to get them some clout. Daniel Penny, Donald Trump. You guys see where we're going here?
Amount of taxpayer dollars that has gone forward in this prosecution, plus all of the legal costs for the defendant, who is the president-elect.
And all the other cases that were not able to be brought to trial because they wasted time on this one. All the sex assault victims, the robbery victims, court time is...
Shout out to all you guys that are subscribing on YouTube. I see here we got... Oh, hold on, chat. My bad. What the fuck? OBS is... Oh, my mouse died. God damn it. Give me one sec, chat. My bad. This always happens with these wireless mouses. All right, there we go. So shout out Danger, H. Stiths, A. Trippy Fungi, I'm Hotep Edwards, Aaron M., Magic's Boy, Krypton, Roger Smith, OPL Wanted, Muhammad Bilali. Let's go, guys. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, guys. MyronGainesX, you guys never miss an episode. Subscribe to the channel.
It's precious. It is a precious...
Also, while we're here, guys, do me one solid. I forgot to mention this before. We only got 493 likes, but we got about 1,100 of you guys watching. Let's get 1,000 likes so that this video gets pushed in the algorithm and people are able to find this podcast, man. Okay? So, or this stream. So, like the video, guys. Let's hit 1,000 likes. We're only at 492. I'm going to drop the link in the Council Club and the Rumble chat. Guys, just open up a tab, like the video. I'd really appreciate it with YouTube.
Resource to waste this time on a case where even the prosecution agrees you should not spend a minute. So if Juan Bershon says this case was not handled any differently, that just tells me there are lots of bad trials going on in New York. One other point on appeal, when I was in the courtroom, the expert, Trump's expert, was not even allowed to testify. And I literally, Dana, heard the same question asked from the defense and the prosecution with different rulings. So if Juan Bershon says that he did this like he did every other case, then he's a bad judge in every other case because the rulings were different depending on who did the objecting.
Yeah. So let me put this question to you, Professor Turley, because there seems to be a consensus among the three of you that there is plenty of potentially reversible error that was committed during the Trump trial. Yet in the New York court system, Trump has pretty much gotten locked out of all of his petitions to either have the case thrown out or delayed or sentencing delayed or whatever. What makes you believe that he could prevail on appeal given his track record with the New York courts?
All right, let me read some chats real quick. Also, guys, you can chat in on MyronGainesX.com. A great way to get involved in the show. We got Habibi goes, $listen, okay. Listen on Soul, don't fade it, okay. Amin Dania says politicians are oligarchs. They really believe they can get away with breaking laws. Needs to be internal affairs body with enforcement powers. No one should be above the law. Fair enough. Habibi again, listen, okay, dude. Please stop shilling a coin. Hey, Myron, I'm a SSG promotable and an Army recruiter here in Cleveland area. If you or anyone has questions about Army military aid, you have to support on the side of this O/WFNF. I appreciate that, bro. We got Grimley. Is that Judge Judy? Who knows? Revoke the 19 says, Myron, can you guys check out the bank card 4% back on everything with 95 fee yearly but need 100K in the bank? I mean, maybe we can on the next episode of when we do a cashback card. Okay, PRP goes, W. Martin, did you follow up on that kid from Canada? This is the side a lot of people don't see of you. You made him face reality in front of his pops. Yeah, I know Mo got his stuff, so cool. All right, I think we're caught up here. And then, yeah, Xander said it was March 25th last year.
System, which a lot of people believe is politically allied against him.
Well, very few people have high expectations at this point for the New York legal system, and it hurts me to say that because I've had a great respect for that system for many years, as has many others. But there's also a problem in these interlocutory appeals. They kept on taking these three-point shots mid-trial, shortly after the verdict. Those are always disfavored. And so the chances of...
Guys, we're only at 567 likes, man. The link is pinned above, guys. Like the video, support the work, man.
Prevailing are not high. You have a better chance once the case itself has been appealed, but also eventually this will go to the Supreme Court. And the key is escaping the vortex that is the New York court system.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling.
All right, let's see the interview that Benny Johnson did here. Actually, let's watch this and we'll go to the thing with
Fox
Tate.
News alert. Moments ago, the Supreme Court denied Trump's application to halt a sentencing in that New York hush money case, which now will happen, the sentencing tomorrow. For a reaction to this, Jonathan Turley, George Washington University Law.
Shout out to Habibi, says, okay, I'm listening. Sorry. Yeah, bro. Try not to just show cryptocurrency in the chat, man. People get annoyed by that.
Law prof, and Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion.
We like Solana, but like talking about it all day, spamming it in the chat is people get annoyed with that.
Opinion editor, both Fox News contributors. Professor
No.
Turley, let's start with you. Look, the court doesn't like to intervene in what may be considered political matters. Your take on this, then I'll tell you what I think the court should have done.
Well, this is what some of us predicted when the appeals were just began. Merchan really played this perfectly, and I say that not as a compliment, that he knew that he was giving President-elect Trump very little runway by which to take an appeal off. He also knew that appellate courts generally...
All right, let's get into the Tate thing. Why is this not? Oh, tab is muted. All right, so this is Benny Johnson and Tate.
Hi. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Hello, Alina.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice
Big
to meet
fan.
you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
America, not just Trump. And I agree with everything you just said. And I think that your anger is the same that President Trump has for our country. And the time is now for us to stop being wimps. I think that's exactly the right sentiment. And I also have to say that I sympathize with you because I think you go through a lot of the same, show me the person, I'll find the crime.
Oh, Andrew just gave his first official address. I can go ahead and get that for you guys as well.
That President Trump has gone through. And it's ironic that Benny has you on today because, as you know, President Trump just got sentenced in what literally will be one of the most tragic stories in American history and democracy and the justice system that I used to be proud of being a part of. But I agree with everything you say, and I have your back out here in the States. And when I saw that you were going to be on, I said to Benny, I have to meet Andrew Tate. There is literally only one person with the same amount of anger and fire, and that's probably me and President Trump. But it's because you love what's right. And you're being under siege, and I see it. And just keep fighting. I mean, I'm here for it. You know, there is no time anymore for weakness. We are being destroyed, and we need strong, powerful voices like yours. And yeah, I got your back over here.
Well, I tell you, if I ever get stateside, and I think I will sooner or later, if I ever need a lawyer, I'll be calling your phone. But you know, it's very important. It's very important, and this is something we need to understand because when you're animated or when you're angry, people call you hateful, and that's one of the semantic tricks I was discussing earlier that the left love to use. You're not hateful if you love something. They'll call you hateful of whatever. They'll call you hateful of immigrants, but it's not hateful of immigrants. It's love for your country. They will take your love and turn it into hate. This is a semantic trick. Do not let these people tell you you're a hateful person for loving something and wanting to stick up for something and being passionate about something. This is one of the tricks they use most often. And they say it to me all the time. You're so animated, you're so angry, you're full of hate. I said, actually, what I am is full of love, and I'm full of principles, and I'm prepared to suffer. And that's the difference.
Yeah, that is the difference. And I think that when I come outside of courtrooms, I'm obviously known for these things. And now I hope to be doing it outside the White House on the front lawn. And I'll tell you right now, that's a love. That's a love for our country and a love for what's right. And I am sick and tired of people trying to take it away from us and then pretending they love our country. And that is the damn truth. That is what this administration has done. I've had quite enough of it. And that is why I frankly chose to go into the White House. I'm so excited to have a say now to help America from inside. And I will tell you that I am going to do everything I can to make sure that what happened today never, ever happens again. It is a disgusting situation. Everybody's called me names for years, Andrew, just like you. It doesn't matter. You call me names, that means I'm effective. You tell me that I'm angry, it only means that I'm passionate. And if you're afraid of me, you will do all of those things. And they should be, because I truly, truly care for America first, just like President Trump. And I've been frankly honored with every hit piece that they hit me with. Isn't that right, Benny? You know, they hit me hard, but I just keep going. It doesn't affect me. If anything, it makes me stronger. So I admire you. I admire what you're doing. I'm right there with you. And yeah, you're good. If you're in the States, I got your back.
Well, I cannot wait to come home. I have to deal with, you've seen it in New York, but I promise you the only place worse is Romania. You would not believe the stories that I will one day tell.
I've been watching, and it's very clear what the problem is. You have a strong voice. You have a lot of followers. You are much like President Trump in that way. You have influence, and when people have influence, they have to fight harder. And unfortunately, you are a victim of that. I see it. That doesn't make you a victim. You're a strong person, but they'll hit you as hard as they possibly can because of that. And it's a disgrace what they're doing. Obviously, I don't know the facts of your case, but I know that it probably wouldn't be happening if you were not yourself. And that's very similar to my client. And just keep fighting.
I thought she would talk about the Trump case. She just over here glazing Tate, this chick. All right, well, boys, come on, nigga. You sent me a fucking video of a chick just glazing Tate the whole time, man. Look, we know Tate's a handsome individual, but come on, bro. Come on, boys. The fuck, man. This nigga gives me this fucking shit. Bro, react to this. Nigga, it's just her fucking showing how much she loves Tate. Right? This nigga, man. LL boys in the chat. All right, let's see here. I got a video that we can react to here. Where do I find it? I had it here. Wait, look at this shit. This fucking loser guy getting cooked on X right now. This dude's hating on Ian Caroll's big ratio yesterday.
On Musk about the Jews, it happened. Oh my God, guys, did you see that Ian Caroll ratioed Elon Musk about the Jews?
It's like 110K likes, guys. He cooked them, Ian Caroll. He cooked Elon Musk yesterday.
It happened. Oh my God, look at this. He's got 116,000 likes, and Elon's only got 7.
Shit, he's fucking cooked, bro. 100 times X.
3,000 likes. That must mean that.
So Ian Caroll kind of hits Elon with the Israel pill.
Ian Caroll is correct that the Jews did 9/11. Or it means that he fucking purchased a bunch of likes and his simp followers went.
Nigga, stop, bro. This dude's a hater. Yo, Ian has like 1 million followers, bro. Like, people always want to hate and say, oh, you buy followers. We got here, Javier says, if Tate ends up becoming UK Prime Minister, does this open up the possibility of running and having Nick as your handler? All love, man. Well, we're American, bro, so we can't do anything in England. And shout out my ninja Canvas Samuels. That's then we got L1 Witty says, Myron, I just joined CC Premium. Thank you for everything you do. Just subbed on YouTube as well, trying to give back for all you do. Thank you so much, LS1 Witty. Quick announcement, links are below, guys. If you want to go ahead and get it to Castle Club Premium at $65, it's going to be going up to $98 after today. Get in now. You get the high value mail course absolutely free when you get it, when you sign up. If you want to save even more money, get it for the year, $500. Or if you're not already in regular Castle Club, get it for the year with Castle Club and Castle Club Premium together with the high value course package deal. All 3 products for only $900 for the year. You're good for 2025. Never have to pay anything again. You're good to go. And then we do a Zoom call once per week on Castle Club, and then we also do a Zoom call once a week on Premium. The Zoom calls on Castle Club, which is the first tier basically, on locals, that's a Zoom call where it's open Q&A. On the other side, we do Premium, that is a Zoom call, but it's more in a specific discipline, whether it's cryptocurrency, real estate, getting girls, Instagram, dating, all this stuff is over there. So Premium is more refined and detailed, and smaller groups of guys in there in the Zoom calls, so you get a little bit more intimate, you could get more deep with the coaching, versus regular Castle Club is open Q&A, guys get in there, ask questions. So we'll probably have a Q&A for you guys on Castle Club tonight too. But yeah, so check that out, guys. Excuse me. Make sure to check that out. So let's keep reacting to this video with this ass clown.
Fucked with the engagement. It doesn't matter.
Oh, Hazardous says, like the video. Guys, yeah, please like the video. Got 1,200 plus you guys watching on YouTube. Like the video, man. Let's keep cooking. Quayem says, hey, Myron, I just want to let you know I'm a fan from Slovenia. I'm totally cooked. If it wasn't for that, for you that explain how women function, I'm grateful as fuck. Got you, man. Yeah, you would have got destroyed probably. Okay, I'm listening. Sorry. All right, caught up. Awesome. This dude has talked shit about me too before, by the way. Just FYI, this guy got beat up by this like Christian rapper. I forget his name. Someone in the chat, can you guys remind me? Like this dude got in a fight at Amfest and got his ass whooped. Someone in the chat's gonna know this the dude that beat him up. What's his name?
Either way.
He was a black dude that beat him up.
Likes on social media don't equate to credibility, and let's prove it. So Elon Musk made this post, right, which is just sort of like a post about Israel and how we need to stop the children in radical Islamic countries from being indoctrinated from a very early.
Shout out to Joe Jones and Jaded Saint and Azure the Great for subscribing on YouTube. Shout out to you guys. We're going to build this thing up to 200K. Let's go. 200K on the way.
Age, so that all they want to do is kill Jews and Americans. By the way, they don't just chant death to the Jews. They fucking have a second part in there, and it involves us. And Ian, who is a fucking crazy person, by the way, for being so...
Yeah, Bryson Gray. That's what I think it is. That's what I think it is. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and...
Smart, you're...
Yeah, I put 6'7" IQ. Actually, let me drop this link. Let's go ahead and fucking start cooking. Let's start cooking this shit, man. You know what? Hold on. I know what I'm going to do. Hold on. Let me duplicate this shit real quick. I think it's Bryson Gray. I think you're right, but I'm going to double check. Yep, this is him. All right, yeah. Okay. I misspelled it. Boom. All right. You guys know what time it is. I think you ninjas know what we're about to do here. Oh. Oh, man. We cooked, chat. We cooked this boy. All right, let's go back to the video. It's fucking loser, bro. What are we at here? Let me refresh this shit.
Guys.
Cooking, man.
Did you see that Ian Caroll ratioed even 0.3 that he fucking purchased a bunch of likes and his simp followers went and
hater.
Prove it. Israel and how we need to stop the children in radical Islamic countries from being indoctrinated.
Yeah, this dude is insufferable, bro. No wonder fucking Bryson beat the shit out of him, bro. This dude is literally insufferable, this guy. He's like one of these fucking virtue signaling pussies.
From a very early age, so that all they want to do is kill Jews and Americans. By the way, they don't just chant death to the Jews. They fucking have a second part in there, and it involves us. And Ian, who is a fucking crazy person, by the way, for being so smart, you're exceptionally bad at understanding this one issue. Kind of weird. And why do I say Ian's a crazy person, by the way? Because he has...
Because he has balls and you fucking don't?
Swipe left eyes. He has swipe left eyes like...
Swipe left eyes? What?
Like, if you were a woman on a dating app and you saw this shit, you'd be like, no. Now look, I know, well, it's an ad hominem attack. Okay, Candace Owens, chill the fuck out. Just because you learned a big word doesn't mean you actually know what it means. That actually just has nothing to do with the substance of what I'm about to talk about.
Here, I'm about to text Ian right now. I'm sending a screenshot saying, cooking this boy right now.
It's called insert comedy here to keep people engaged. But we can just break down the substance of what he's saying, okay? AIPAC purchased the seats of about 90% or more of our current Congress. AIPAC is currently ranked 199th in lobbying, 20th in contributions, which is still a lot. However, it's hard to purchase 90% of Congress when you are 20th in contributions.
What he means by that is that everyone in Congress supports Israel. 90% of congressmen support Israel. That's what he's saying, you fucking dummy.
Stupid.
Holy, bro, oh my God, this dude's low IQ.
Anybody give a fuck about the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Association of Realtors, American Hospital Association, Blue Cross Blue Shield, pharmaceutical company?
Red Obsidian says this fat fuck is a closet HOMO. Okay, he probably is. You should bring Bryson on the show and give him a shout out, guys. I don't know him personally, but I'm glad that he smacked shit out this dude. If Tate ends up becoming UK Prime Minister, okay, we're caught up with chats. Again, guys, if Castle Club Premium, get in. Also, if you want to get involved in the show, MyronGainesX.com, super chat there. Shout out to James Guzman, Joe Jones, and Jada Safe for joining, for subscribing on YouTube.
Manufacturers, as Amazon, fucking Amazon, anyone? No, the Jews aren't buying our fucking congressmen. They're doing what they have.
Oh, so Thomas Massey was just lying about AIPAC handlers. Okay.
Always done, and trying to donate to their own causes. That's what PACs are. PACs are just, hey, I have a cause and we got a lot of money. You want some money? Do my cause. I personally think that all PACs should be illegal, right? We should have a...
Also, everyone that gets Castle Club during the stream is going to get shouted out. So, WS Baller, EFS, Sammy 9005, L Business, Gascon, El Defoon, Cuckoo 16, Wither Matthew, Lil Sai, M Pasalugo, Jamal Shep, user 183. Shout out to all you guys for joining Castle Club Premium. Shout out to you ninjas, man. Everyone that signs up during the stream, I will shout you out as well. Also, if you join Castle Club, I'll shout you out on air as well, and you get it down to Marco. Special shout out. So, guys, get in while you guys can.
Salary cap.
Close this today.
Boom. Fucking just everybody's on the same playing field. But that's not the way it works right now. Until we change that, just stop fucking thinking that everything's the Jews, all right? This is 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon, and you guys are looking for Kevin Bacon as a Jew. So, now that you know that information, you can probably use common fucking sense to realize that no, 0.2% of the world population from a country that is the size of New Jersey and is ranked 20th in contributions and 199th in lobbying did not buy 90% of the United States Congress. Furthermore, anybody that starts off with this should be ignored everywhere else, but I'm feeling froggy. Let's go ahead and debunk some of this shit. Next up is JFK wanted Israel to register as foreign agents, right? Which is true. He gave a warning to Israel about its nuclear reactor in 1963 before he was killed. And the American Zionist Council did not comply, but then he was killed, and it just went nowhere. That does not mean that the Jews killed JFK because he wanted them to register as a foreign agent for a program that was widely known. It's also kind of ridiculous to suggest, considering from one of JFK's most famous speeches, he was very pro-Zionist. Yeah, I mean, you guys can screenshot this. This ain't a from the river to the sea type of speech. In fact, the same fucking useful idiots like Ian here who are screaming genocide, those people were also coming at Kennedy back in the day from the Arabic newspaper. As for the question of the existence and non-existence of Israel, Mr. Kennedy says Israel has been created in order to exist, and they don't agree. That kind of proves they're the bad guy.
No, you fucking dumbass. The foreign policy back then in the 60s was to stay out of affairs. That was the policy. They aided Israel to a degree, but they also were neutral when it came to the Arab world and wanted to broker peace between the two. Okay? Yes, they helped them, but they weren't as pro-Israel as we are now, where it's like, yeah, we don't give a fuck about the Arabs. JFK actually did want to have diplomatic ties with the Arabs, and this is a big reason why he was so, people were criticizing him, was because he had relationships with the Soviets and with the Arabs. So people thought he was a traitor.
You know, the funny thing about these people like Ian Caroll and all the people that are coming after Elon Musk and making these wild conspiracy theories, they're useful idiots for Islam, right? If you look at any of their pages and you type in the word Islam, it's probably going to come up.
Wait, so this guy couldn't even substantiate how Ian was wrong about JFK. Look, I explained this before, I'll explain it again. John F. Kennedy, it was a complex situation where different factions wanted JFK gone. we have the Italian mafia, the Jewish mafia, the CIA, right? But the problem is when you talk about JFK's assassination, they always conveniently leave out the Zionist angle, right? If any of you guys ever watched the movie JFK by Oliver Stone, you guys will see that there's a very strong CIA nexus, but they don't talk too much about the mob. They talk more about the CIA side. Why did the mob want Kennedy gone? I'll tell you why. They want him gone because Kennedy's father promised to leave the mafia alone if they went ahead and rigged the election in, I think it was Michigan. So Kennedy's father made a deal, unbeknown to JFK and his brother RFK. He made a deal with La Cosa Nostra. Look, get my son elected and they will not fuck with you, right? Because the mafia wasn't even known back then in the 60s. Kennedy comes into office, they do the opposite. JFK's brother, RFK, who is right now RFK's junior's father, the late great RFK, he was the attorney general back then. So he went ahead and aggressively pursued, he aggressively pursued the mafia. This pissed him off. How for all these guys, he went after all the mafia guys, brought them in to testify, and next thing you know, this secret, the dark hand or whatever, or our thing, La Cosa Nostra, this thing that no one really talked about publicly was now very public, where we had mobsters testifying in court because they were subpoenaed, right? Those famous things. So the mafia had an axe to grind to get rid of the Kennedy brothers because they went after them and publicized the mafia after they had helped them get elected. 2, Israel wanted him gone because of fair registration, and more importantly, which he's not talking about here, was, and this is the biggest reason, Kennedy wanted to disarm Israel of its nuclear weapons. Back in the 1960s, there was a facility in Pennsylvania called NUMEC. This facility was making very enriched uranium. The head of the facility was a guy named Shapiro. He facilitated the illegal smuggling of uranium, somewhere around 100 to 200 kilos of this grade A uranium to be smuggled through South America, destined for Israel, okay? And this uranium was used to begin nuclear proliferation. Well, you guys are wondering, Myron, hold on. Why do they need the bomb so bad? Why are they going ahead and stabbing one of their allies in the back and stealing uranium, Myron? Why? Well, the reason why is because Israel realized that they were surrounded by enemies in the Arab world that didn't want them there. And they had won a few wars and a few conflicts, but they understood that, we can't do this forever. We can't just keep fighting off these Arabs. Like, there's going to be a day where they're going to come in and they're going to be able to overwhelm us. We fought them off in 67, 48, whatever. But we can't do this shit forever. So we need the bomb. So they were hell-bent on getting the bomb to ensure that they can protect their existence. Right? Chat, like the goddamn video. I'm cooking right now. So what JFK did was he sent a spy out to Dimona where they were doing this nuclear testing. Right? I know we're on YouTube, chat. Don't worry, I'm not going crazy. This is all historical fact. He sent he said a CIA guy went out there to Dimona and they tested the soil and they found that there was uranium-rich soil there. Well, at the time, only the United States was able to make uranium that pure. So Kennedy, knowing this, knew that they had procured or were working on procuring a nuclear weapon. And he was trying to disarm them, but Ben Gurion, the prime minister at the time, the first prime minister of Israel, did not want to comply for obvious reasons. If Israel doesn't have the nuclear bomb, it puts them in a very bad position geopolitically when it comes to self-defense. So they lied. And to this day, they will not publicly claim that they have nuclear weapons because there's an act back from 1973, if I'm not mistaken, signed by Jimmy Carter, where the United States cannot give foreign military or foreign aid to any country that procures nuclear weapons outside of our laws. Well, guess what? Israel got the nuclear weapons illegally through their uranium. So if Israel was to come out and officially and publicly say, hey, we have the nuclear bomb, that would be in violation of that law, and we would not be able to continue to give them the aid that we do. That, my friends, is why Israel never publicly claims that they have weapons, that they have nuclear weapons. So this guy's a fucking idiot, right? Now let's go to the other reason why they wanted Kennedy gone. So we covered why the mafia wanted him gone. He didn't honor his father's promise to the mafia to not bother them. They actually had integrity and they went after them, him and his brother. Second, Kennedy wanted to disarm Israel, which was literally a threat against Israel's existence. They couldn't have him alive anymore. And then finally, the CIA wanted him gone because he wanted to disband the CIA. So we have 3 different factions that were significantly interested in getting rid of John F. Kennedy. And then you guys are probably wondering, well, Myron, why'd they kill his brother too? The reason why they killed his brother RFK was because they knew, right? Because keep in mind, they didn't kill him until he ran for president, FYI. He didn't die until about 5 years later. Kenny died November 22nd, 1963. His brother didn't die until about 1968, somewhere in June. I think June 8th, 1968. You know, let me fact check it real quick. Let me see if I'm on fire right now. Damn, I'm fucking good. I was 2 days off, but I'm good. June 6th, 1968. You guys get the point. Right? Close enough. So, the reason why they needed to get rid of RFK was because RFK never accepted the Warren Commission, guys. The Warren Commission was the investigation led by guys like Alan Dulles, Angleton, a bunch of guys that hated Kennedy, right? They didn't like Kennedy. So you basically put a panel of guys together that didn't like Kennedy that were CIA guys. So RFK, knowing this, that a bunch of Kennedy's haters were in this fucking commission or involved in this commission, he never trusted the results from the Warren Commission. He publicly accepted it to everyone else, a safe face for the U.S. government, but he never trusted it. So one of his missions was, when he became president, he was going to open another investigation into his brother's death. Next thing you know, bam, fucking killed by a guy named Sirhan. But the problem with Sirhan, and even JFK, even RFK knows this shit, he wasn't the real shooter. He wasn't the real shooter. How do we know that? Well, you know what? Let's have fun with this. We're going down a little bit of a spider web here, but I'm really giving y'all the facts. Give me O/ in the chat if I'm cooking right now, and y'all are learning some fire. Because this dude right now, he's a fucking idiot that's criticizing Ian Caroll. We're cooking right now, chat. Let me see here.
Okay, this is what I want to ask you about, because I've heard you talk about this recently, and we know. On May 26, 1968, your father made a statement that we must defend Israel against aggression from wherever source. Our obligations to Israel, unlike our obligations towards other countries, are clear and imperative. The U.S. should, without delay, sell Israel 50 Phantom jets. Okay. A day later, Kennedy's strong plea for the defense of Israel appeared in the Pasadena Independent. The article enraged a Palestinian named Sirhan.
Don't worry, we're going to go back to making fun of this guy, but I want you guys to really see how deep this was. Because both assassinations were a conspiracy. Harvey Lee Oswald did not kill John F. Kennedy. It was 6 other shooters, and I did a whole episode on this with Corey Hughes. And Sirhan did not kill RFK. And you guys are going to see right here from Junior's mouth himself, he knows that Sirhan didn't kill his father. And you'll see why here.
He wrote in his diary, Robert F. Kennedy must be assassinated before June 5th, which was the first anniversary of the 67 Six-Day War in Israel. The Pasadena...
Be right. You know, and I don't speculate as to what happened. All I say is that Sirhan himself could not have killed my father. And that's what Thomas Noguchi, who was the coroner, you know, and by the way...
Wait. You guys hear that? Let's go backwards real quick. This is his son.
Didn't he want to, but according to this, is that wrong that he read this story, was enraged as a Palestinian? I mean, it's the idea that the article was in his pocket when he committed the act, is that wrong?
That could be right. You know, and I don't speculate as to what happened. All I say is that Sirhan himself could not have killed my father. And that's what
Boom, right from the horse's mouth. Even RFK Jr. knows Sirhan did not kill his father.
Thomas Noguchi, who was the coroner. You know, and by the way, my entire life, I believe that my uncle was killed not by a conspiracy, by a group of people. And I had doubts about that from when I was little, because when I was, the day that we were waking my uncle in the East Room of the White House, and I was standing in the foyer of the White House with my Aunt Jackie and with my dad and my mother. And Lyndon Johnson came in and told us that Jack Ruby had killed Lee Harvey Oswald. For the people who are young people, Lee Harvey Oswald was the person who was charged with arrested for killing my uncle. And a day later, he was killed in the jailhouse by a guy, who came in.
A nightclub owner.
What?
A nightclub owner.
A nightclub owner
named Jack
who was
Ruby.
deeply involved with the
Jack Rubenstein
mob.
Not the worst nightclub owner I ever worked for, but
yeah,
an asshole nonetheless.
Anyway, and I had said to my dad and my mother at that time, why did he do it? Did he love our family? Because even as a little kid, it didn't make any sense to me. Why would you go do that in public when when you're putting your own life at stake? And so that story never made any sense. And then when I was older, I researched it. Somebody gave me a book called The Unspeakable, and I read it, and the whole story that made sense. But I still believe that my father had been killed by Sirhan. Sirhan confessed to the murder. He pled guilty. And, his story is that he has no memory of it. And he's stuck with that story for 60 years. So, but Paul, there was a man standing, one of my father's best friends, was standing beside him when my father was shot. And his name is Paul Schrade. He was the deputy director of the United Auto Workers, and he's the guy who recruited Cesar Chavez to the labor movement, to the United Farm Workers, and then introduced my father to Cesar Chavez, which was one of the most important relationships that my father had. And the first shot that Sirhan fired hit Paul in the head. Paul survived, and he just...
And this is Sirhan right here, just so you guys know. He's still alive to this day, guys. He's still alive to this day. This is him. He's 80 years old now. Crazy.
Died less than a year ago. And he spent the last 20 years of his life trying to get Sirhan out of jail, because he did not believe that Sirhan killed my father. And I just sort of dismissed what, over years, I'd hear that that Al Lowenstein, who you may remember, assassinated himself. He became a congressman, was killed. But he fought for many years to get Sirhan out and get the case reopened, because he did not believe that my father was killed by Sirhan. But I never looked into any details. I just assumed there were 77 eyewitnesses. Sirhan killed Robert Kennedy.
Right.
And then Paul Schrade made me come over to his house one day and read the autopsy report. How did he make me? He told me, you have to do this. And because he was such a close friend of my father's, and because he himself had been shot, I felt like I couldn't say no to him. And when I sat down and read the autopsy report, it became clear to me, as it would to anybody who read that report, that Sirhan could not.
Okay, now we're going to get into the bombshells. I've talked about this on other podcasts, but you know what, guys? I think it's more powerful if you guys hear it from his son in his own words. Pay attention to what you're going to hear right now with the autopsy report of his father's assassination.
Not have killed my father, which is what Thomas Noguchi, the coroner, the most important coroner probably in American history, concluded also and said in his autobiography. And here's what happened, the short story. Sirhan fired 2 shots at my father. He was 5 feet away. There was, as I said, there was absolute mayhem in the kitchen of the Ambassador Hotel. My father just won the primary. He said from the stage, and now it's on to Chicago, which was where the convention was. Then he walks off the stage and he went into a route that was not expected. He was led into a route through the kitchen, which he was not supposed to go to. And waiting in the kitchen in an ambush was Sirhan standing in front of a steam table. And as my father approached the steam table, Sirhan fired at him 2 shots. One of those hit Paul Schrade. The other one went past my father's ear and hit a door jamb behind my father, a wooden door jamb, from which it was later removed by the LAPD. Sirhan was then grabbed by 6 men in a dog pile, and he was backed onto the steam table. And his hand, Rayford Johnson, who was a great friend of mine, one of my father's close friends, he was the decathlon gold medal winner in 1960. He was one of the people who grabbed it, and he was the one who actually grabbed his hand. And he said that Sirhan, who's a tiny little man, I've been to meet him and visit him in prison. He said the tiniest little guy. But Rayford said he had superhuman strength. And he could not get that gun out of his hand.
Because he was on drugs when this all happened, MK Ultra type shit.
And Sirhan now was pointing the gun away from my father and fired 6 more shots. So there's 8 shots in the barrel. He fired 6 in the other direction, the opposite direction from where my father was. All of those shots hit people. So we know who they hit. We know what happened to all of those bullets. One person got shot twice, once through his once through his clothing. And my father was shot 4 times from behind.
That's important, chat. Sirhan was in front of him. Fired 2 shots, but they quickly grabbed him. But the shots that killed his father came from behind. Let's see where they hit.
And
so it's the same scenario as Oswald.
Well, let me just finish.
A patsy and a real shooter.
Right. So he was a distractor. And the real shooter was behind my father. He was a man called Eugene Thane Caesar, who was a security guard.
Guys, RFK was a child when his father and his uncle were killed. He was a child. He was like 5 or 10 years old.
Who worked for Lockheed. He was a CIA operative. He was a vocal racist who hated the Kennedys. And he had been the one who led my father through the kitchen toward the ambush. He was holding my father's arm. He drew his gun.
Right.
And my father was shot 4 times from behind. One of the shots passed through the shoulder pad of his, harmlessly through the shoulder pad of his coat. The other 2 were into his back, and then 1 behind his ear, which was the fatal shot. And all of the shots had an uphill trajectory. So, and all of them, and this is what the autopsy found, were contact shots. So the barrel of the gun was touching my father's body or his clothing, and they left the discharge left carbon tattoos, or less than an inch from his skin. So they left carbon tattoos on his flesh. And the autopsy was an exquisite autopsy. It's called the perfect autopsy.
And that means that he had to have been shot at close range, guys. It's something called stifling. When you get shot at close range, that you get burn marks on the skin.
Noguchi, who knew what had happened in President Kennedy's autopsy, which was, loaded with scandal, did not want the same thing to happen in LA. And he said, we're not going to do Dallas again. So he flew in the top coroners from all of the armed services, the Army, Air Force, Navy.
And the reason why, guys, is because when Kenny was killed, they randomly just took him, they didn't even let him stay at the hospital. They took him from Dallas against procedure and brought him to Navy doctors.
Marines to observe what he was doing. And his autopsy is called the perfect autopsy in the medical literature.
Because they didn't want to fuck up again like they did with his brother JFK 5 years prior.
And, he concluded that the shots had come from behind. And there were 77 eyewitnesses who saw that Sirhan was never behind my father. He was always in front of him, always about 5 feet away. And all the shots that killed him now.
It seems so open.
He fell, and as my father fell, he must have known he was being shot from behind because he turned around and grabbed off Caesar's clip-on tie. And you can see pictures of him lying on the floor, and he's actually lying on top of Caesar with the clip-on tie in his hand. And there's pictures of Caesar without his tie on. Caesar pushed my father off him and stood up. He was knocked down when my father fell onto him. He stood up and was seen with his gun. The police did not confiscate the gun that night. And they asked him what he was doing, and he said he drew the gun to shoot at Sirhan. And
but did he really?
And then that's the beginning of the story. And then Zazer made a series of changing, deceptive, lying statements after that in the different times he was questioned over many, many years. I cannot tell you what happened. I can speculate about it, but I can tell you that I cannot see any way that anybody can read that autopsy report and believe that Sirhan killed my father. And that's, my point is that it ought to be investigated. There was no trial.
Now, why do I say all this? Because this guy's trying to say that, Israel wasn't involved in his death. Look, they needed Kennedy gone, and then when his brother wanted to go snooping around to find out what was who killed his brother, they killed him too. And they used a fucking Palestinian to do it, guys. Lavon affair? False flag? Ring a bell, guys? Chat. Am I cooking or what? I systematically explained to you guys who killed JFK, why they killed JFK, the mafia, Jewish mafia, and the CIA. Then we went into RFK and why they killed him, and why Sirhan was not the shooter. And you heard it right from his son's own mouth. Not me. You heard it from his son. That he doesn't even think that his fucking father was killed by Sirhan. It was a false flag. They used a doped out Palestinian to kill his father to create tension in the Middle East. Let's fucking go. This is a history that we'll never teach you guys. So this idiot that's criticizing Ian Caroll, saying, bro, you're just saying it's the Jews. No, dude, it's not just the Jews. It was a bunch of people that were involved. This was a grand conspiracy. Many people wanted the Kennedys gone. Everyone had their personal reason for it, which I just explained to you guys. But for you to sit there and say that there was not Israeli intelligence involved in these murders, you're a fucking idiot. This guy. Anyway, somebody clip that for me. We're cooking, chat. / in the chat.
No mention.
And then give me ones in the chat if you guys learned something new, if you didn't know some of that stuff.
Right? But if you type in the word Jew, you're going to see a fucking whole bunch of shit. Right? And this is by design. Islam has perfected the art of taqiyya over the past 2,000 years, which is misdirection. All right? It's using people to promote propaganda that terrorists aren't doing terror.
Also, just so it's on the record, I would never self-delete. So if you guys see me go missing, I would never self-delete. Okay?
Shit, but the people they're trying to terrorize are. Next up, we have Jeffrey Epstein, because if you're Jewish and rape kids, that means Israel did 9/11. Now, this is all just a bunch of weird, random connections that doesn't really make any sense, right? It's like, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein had an associate who was connected to Mossad, but what's the point? Are you just pointing out that Jeffrey Epstein was Jewish? Yeah, he was. Okay, some Jews suck. But then again, some people from Switzerland suck. Some Jews suck. Are you just pointing out that Jeffrey Epstein had an associate who was connected to Mossad, but what's the point? Are you just pointing out that Jeffrey Epstein was Jewish? Yeah, he was.
We'll play that back one more time, chat. I can't believe what I just heard. Hold on.
Kids, that means, and this is by design, Islam has perfected the art of taqiyya over the past 2,000 years, which is misdirection, all right? It's using people to promote propaganda that terrorists aren't doing terrorist shit, but the people they're trying to terrorize are. Next up, we have...
Israel's been caught so many times doing false flags. Google Lavon affair. Bombing in the King David Hotel. They do false flags all the time.
Jeffrey Epstein, because if you're Jewish and rape kids, that means Israel did 9/11. Now, this is all
Where the fuck does he say that? He didn't say that at all. This guy's an idiot.
just a bunch of Israel did 9/11.
That Israel is obviously the state sponsor for Jeffrey Epstein, whose handler was Ehud Barak, ex-head of Israeli military intelligence. His funding was Les Wexner, one of the world's richest Zionist philanthropists, and was accused by ex-Mossad agents of being Mossad. Not to mention the Marx Connect. I think he means Max Lane thing. He owes two.
Now,
blackmail Edgar Hoover.
this is all just a bunch of weird, random connections that doesn't really make any sense, right?
All right, chat. Are we gonna go to Rumble so I can really unpack this shit? Chat, we gonna go to Rumble so we can really unpack this shit? So I can speak freely? I think it's time to Rumble, chat. Yeah, because I want to really get into this. And I don't want to have to censor myself. Yeah, I know. I see some of you guys are saying no on YouTube, but bro, like, we like I don't want to. I want to be able to tell you guys everything, and I already know if I have to self-censor, it's gonna be annoying. So I'm gonna put the link. Before you guys switch on over, come on over to Rumble right now. But guys, Castle Club Premium, $65 going up to 98 soon. Get in there while you guys can. Get in, get in, get in. All right. Get in there. I'm going to end the YouTube stream here.
This is why you shouldn't listen to these people. They're fucking retarded. It takes literally 15 fucking seconds to prove that that's not true. Right? No, the Rothschilds didn't purchase Israel. The modern state of Israel was established in 1948 following the United Nations partition plan for Palestine in 1947. The land was not bought, by the way, land, not nation, was not bought by any single family or individual, but was part of a complex historical, political, and international process. The Rothschilds did play a role in the early development of a Jewish settlement in Palestine. The region. It's never been a country. Who's the president?
Yeah, they promised that land to them to get the United States to enter World War I, dude. Come on, man.
And the rest of
learn your history, man. That's what the Balfour Declaration was about. There's a reason why the Rothschilds, they're literally on Israeli currency, shekels.
What this retard says is just a bunch of for like 6 more paragraphs. You can fucking read it.
Oh, yeah, let's not look at all the facts.
But I want to focus on this one sentence that...
Of course you don't want to go after all the other stuff.
...should be a litmus test for people who spend way too much fucking time on the internet going down rabbit holes. That's just a small list of some of the best documented reasons why I, as an American, don't want Israel receiving my tax dollars. That's his... best! And I just debunked 95% of it in under 7 minutes.
No, you didn't, dude. No, you fucking didn't.
And then we got the whole fucking collective punishment. Collective punishment? Right? This is the problem with people on the internet. They hear a term, they repeat the term, they don't know what the fucking term means, all right? Collective punishment is essentially the death penalty.
Yeah, green screen's off.
And it comes in a few different forms, but one of them, I guess you could kind of say, is retaliation for raping and murdering 1,200 people. So Hiroshima, I guess, is now collective punishment. The war in Afghanistan is collective punishment. The war in Ukraine is collective everything's collective punishment, right? I mean, essentially, right? It's just punishment for...
This dude is 67 IQ, man.
Doing something like October 7th. Yeah, sign me up. Some other commonly misused words are Zionism and genocide, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, look, here's the deal. Elon, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, just suck off Elon, dude. It's gonna work great for you.
Keep on taking these people's fucking check marks because they shouldn't...
Oh, look at you applauding censorship because you're a fucking piece of shit.
Be incentivized to keep on promoting propaganda in a form of Islamic taqiyya on the internet. You don't have to ban them, all right? That's kind of censorship. But, yeah, stop paying...
well, hey, idiots. Taking people's check marks away is censorship, you dumb fuck. And it's always idiots like this that don't fucking get it. If you start, like, if I'm in a jail cell and I have freedom of speech and I talk, but there's just a wall in me because my speech can't get out there, it's useless. It doesn't matter. Freedom of speech only matters if you're able to reach, dummy. Freedom of speech is contingent upon freedom of reach. Therefore, there's no need for the freedom of speech. Because if you're not getting the reach, there's no need for the speech.